Well, it looks like, oh, look at that. They just put me straight into it. There we go. Well, I don't know what YouTube is doing here, gang. Very unfortunate. We were right in the middle of our last video, our live stream Friday, and apparently all the different live streams that are going on got cut off. I got cut off at the 12-minute mark, so I'm sorry. I kept going. I thought it was funny. You guys stopped. My screen had frozen, and hey, Sarah, thank you. Yeah, thank you for coming back. Yeah, it's good to be back. Let everybody know we've got something going on here. It was so odd. I mean, I just kept going. So I've got my camera here. I've got my monitor here, because if I have the monitor where my camera is, I get distracted. That's how my brain works. So there we go. Everyone's kind of piping in here. Good. Yeah, I'm back, guys. I don't know what happened. Apparently, my moderator, Josh, said that YouTube live streams just went down across the board. So something inherent in YouTube. I don't know what. Yeah, somebody, right. Roger, right. All live streams went down at the same time. So weird. I don't know what's going on with that. But anyway, let's pick up where we left off. Come on in, gang. So we're going to have a part 1, part 2. I'll just leave the same thumbnail and everything like that in place. So we've got the setup, as we talked about, and we left off saying what's happening in Ukraine is not ultimately about Ukraine. That is absolutely essential to get. It's about nothing less than the end of one of these world orders, either the liberal Western globalist order or this new postmodern, post-globalist traditionalist order, right? Ukraine is it in terms of the battlefield between these two orders, this clash. Ukraine is the battlefield upon which this gigantic clash of titanic proportions is going to be settled. It's not so much the West versus the East, though geographically, obviously, we can work it out that way. But at this much higher level of analysis, it's about a globalist world order versus a post-globalist world order, a secular world order versus a post-secular world order. And ultimately, because they are mutually exclusive and because they're world orders, ultimately, one is going to come out victorious. There's no way around that. So, right before, where do I put all my notes here? Here we are. Right before we got so rudely cut off, right before, oh no, did we get cut off again? Oh, good. No, just people are slowly trickling in. I see the comments out of the side of my eye. Oh, Brooks, I'm just going to throw this out. I got a super chat from Brooks. Yeah, super chat is up, so if you want to throw in your questions. Globalism defined from each according to zero gullibility to every elite according to sheer greed. Yes. Very well put. Gullibility versus greed. Wow, dude. I'm going to use that. I like that. That's very good. Gullibility, widespread gullibility, and greed. I love it. So, all right. Before we got cut off here, Alexander Vucic, the president of Serbia, was in New York at the latest UN meeting, and he issued a very, very dire warning for the entire world. He believes that in the next couple of months, the globe may indeed be entering into what he called a great world conflict. These are the comments that he gave in New York. Quote, "You see a crisis in every part of the world. I think realistic predictions ought to be even darker. Our position is even worse, since the UN has been weakened and the great powers have taken over and practically destroyed the UN order over the past several decades." Now, by UN order, he can mean a couple of things, but I'm going to assume he's meaning more or less the UN as representative, sort of this liberal world globalism. And then in addressing the recent Russian mobilization of its military forces, he said, quote, "I assume that we're leaving the phase of the special military operation, the SMO, that was launched back last February, and approaching a major armed conflict. And now the question becomes, where is the line? And whether after a certain time, maybe a month or two even, we will enter a great world conflict not seen since the Second World War." That is chilling. No question about it. No pun intended for you Europeans. We're about to experience a very cold winter. Unfortunately, I think Vucic is right. I think we can see precisely what's happening here, at least in terms of his warning, in terms of the potential for a cataclysmic conflict. Because I think we're seeing the pieces of the chessboard moving in that direction. And what I want to do for you is analyze those moves. I want to develop for you what's going on here in a way that I don't think you've heard before, but I think is very accurate in terms of what's happening in light of these larger global, tectonic processes that are happening. So as many of you know, this weekend, actually it's happening right now as we speak, 4 regions in eastern Ukraine, Donetsk, Lugansk, Kherson, and Zaporozhye, they're all holding referendums to be fully annexed into Russia. Okay. Once the Duma, or the Russian parliament, votes on that, and once Putin signs off on it, which should be early next week, I'm assuming, that part of eastern Ukraine is now officially, as far as the full force of the Russian military is concerned, as far as Russian law is concerned, as far as Moscow is concerned, as far as the Kremlin is concerned, that part of Eastern Europe is now officially a part of the Russian Federation. And if Ukrainian troops attack those regions, Putin has made it absolutely clear that such an attack will be treated exactly as if it were an invasion of Russia itself. As a matter of fact, we would argue it's not an as if. It will be treated as an invasion of Russia. Now, that accounts for the mobilization of 300,000 more Russian troops. And that also accounts for Putin's very dire warning that Russia will not hesitate to use all means necessary, including nuclear weapons, to defend its territorial integrity. At the same time this is happening, the monolithic Western media, and Fox News, unfortunately, is as complicit in this as is MSNBC, with the one exception being, of course, Tucker Carlson. The monolith of the Western media continues to peddle the notion that Russia is falling apart, Ukraine is on the cusp of total victory, right? They're ready to get back every single square inch that Russia's taken from them, even Crimea itself. I mean, look, what I did is I went and I, just right before the broadcast, I punched in Putin in Google. And here are just Putin. And here's what I got immediately. CNN, they artificially always put CNN at the top. CNN, reports of Putin's problems are mounting. NBC, Putin faces mounting backlash. The Guardian, patience with Putin may be ebbing among friendlier countries. Haaretz, Putin's nuclear threat, is he bluffing? Is he rational? And what if he isn't? The Atlantic, Putin's Kremlin is in disarray. God. Slate magazine, what the West should do about Putin's increasingly dangerous desperation. The Washington Post, Putin faces fury in Russia over military mobilization prisoner swap. Obviously, you're not going to get a variety of opinions here. This is a monolithic narrative that's being pushed by the Western globalist media. And it is crucial for us to understand how this media monolith is itself pushing us to the brink. We have to understand that the fake news media that we mock and ridicule isn't simply wrong. They're not simply liars, as we all know. We've got to understand that the fake news legacy media is actually very, very dangerous. And this is where understanding what's happening here as a world conflict of epic proportions emerges here. Okay? This is absolutely essential for us to get. There's a reason why the legacy media's coverage of the Ukrainian conflict is so monolithic. As it turns out, the media is actually an intrinsic part of this global clash that we were talking, this epical titanic clash between a globalist world order and a post-globalist world order. And again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you have to go to part one, part one of the live stream that got cut off. That's where we cover this whole titanic shift, as it were, okay? So what we have to understand is, let's think historically, okay? Historically speaking, what used to be a glue that held a nation together? Because if you think about it, holding a nation together is not so easy. We don't know who belongs to a nation. We don't know them personally, that is. And again, it's not just boundaries and borders per se. If you think it through, even people living in the smallest of nations, like Liechtenstein, will never know 99.999% of the other members of the same nation. They'll never meet them, right? They'll never hear of them. If you go to a graveyard to visit a loved one, in your own local neighborhood, how many of those names on the other grave markers do you know? What's the percentage, right? And that's your local neighborhood. Most of us only probably maybe a couple of percent. Most of us will never know the vast majority of other members of our nation face to face. And yet, despite that, we treat each other as fellow nationals. And that's because we seem to share some things in common, right? We share a common experience and vision of life that we didn't necessarily directly pass on to each other through face-to-face contact. How did that happen? Well, in terms of the historic notion of a nation, the answer is, in a word, culture. Compatriots, most of whom will never, ever know each other, are nevertheless bound together by a common culture, by common activities that bind our lives together. This is what the scholar Benedict Anderson called imagined communities. Culture historically shaped our imaginations to think of others as belonging to a common inheritance, others within our own sort of, geographical sphere. So if you think about it, in a nation, again, historically conceived, we all share common language, we all share common foods, we all share common fashion, we share common calendar, we share common music, art, movies. In other words, even though we haven't met 99.9999% of the people in our nation, right? We face to face, we nevertheless all have a common vision, a common imaginary or a common experience of what it means to belong to this wider community wherein most of our members, we will never know each other personally. Culture served as the connective tissue to hold nations together, historically speaking. What we have to understand is that the globalist order is very, very different from this. The globalist order, because it spans many different cultures. It's transcultural because it's a one-size-fits-all system that superimposes itself upon all cultures. Obviously, such a system can't hold together by virtue of a single culture. And so the globalist order replaces culture with communications technologies. Globalism is held together not by culture, but by literally technology and telecommunications. And the primary communications technology that holds the globalist order together is, of course, what we all know as the media, primarily the news media, but all forms of media, movies, entertainment, and alike. But it's the transcultural media that serves as the connective tissue. Think of just where the BBC is everywhere, right? I went to Finland for a week for a conference years back, and the only television channel I could watch that I can understand was the BBC Finland, right? Or the BBC Brazil, whatever it happens to be. But this is the media that connects us all together into one big globalist village. It's the media that serves as the connective tissue that provides the kind of imagined community for a globalist order that culture used to provide. So this is precisely why the Western globalist media has been so monolithic in its coverage of the Ukrainian conflict. They recognize that this is ultimately a conflict between what they consider to be a neo-traditionalist, religious fundamentalist, resurgent Soviet Russia versus the liberal world order. And as the connective tissue that holds that liberal world order together, in that the legacy media provides that imagined community, they're going to report a narrative that fits fully in accordance with the sustaining and the championing of that liberal world order. And that is also precisely why we appear to be heading towards an epic world conflict, the likes of which we never even imagined. How's that, right? That's the key. I'm going to hold you there for a moment. Before I get into that, I got to plug our sponsor here. My friend Michael Lush, along with his amazing staff at Replace Your University, are showing patrons just like you how you can build your own personal parallel economy so you can do more of what you love, like fighting for freedom, without worrying about your financial future. Michael will even show you how to pay off your mortgage in 5 to 7 years. Think of all the interest payments you're going to save with that. So he's absolutely amazing. Click on that link below. Book a free call with Michael today. You're going to absolutely love it. Replace Your University. It's absolutely wonderful. All right. So with that, I do think we are seeing the media bring us to the brink here. And let me show you why. I've argued from the very beginning of this conflict as well. Again, you can go back to the late February invasion here, however you want to put it, right? But this SMO, Special Military Operation. But I've been arguing from day one that we're fighting, when all is said and done, what we're seeing happen here in terms of the fight is the fight is taking place on 3 battlefields. There's the military battlefield. There's the worldwide economic battlefield with a blitzkrieg of Western sanctions being imposed on Russia. And there's a media battlefield, a propaganda battlefield. And this is particularly being led by the Western media. Now, keep in mind, propaganda isn't specific to the West. Whenever you're dealing with war, you're dealing with propaganda. Absolutely. Don't get me wrong there. But having said that, the battle is being fought on these 3 fronts, right? So you can think of this as a military battle, a money battle, and a media battle. In terms of military, all you have to ask is, as of this early next week, right, did Ukrainian territory grow in the last several months, or did it shrink? Or better, is the territorial integrity of Ukraine the same as it was this time last year, or has it shrank? Has it shrunk? I don't know. Has it constricted? Well, obviously it shrunk. I think it shrunk. Right, shrank or shrunk. Now I'm having my grammar Nazi inside of me is going crazy here. Russia, whether we like it or not, no matter how you want to spin it, is clearly winning the military battles. As of next week, Russia will have gotten larger. Ukraine will have gotten smaller. Last time I looked, the winner is the one who gets the land, the prize. The prize is the land. How about the money battle? The collective West is currently experiencing an economic nightmare. Skyrocketing inflation, energy crisis, recession, increasing stagflation. Russia, by contrast, has all the food and fuel it needs and has successfully recalibrated its global trade towards the emerging markets of the global East. However, there is absolutely no question that the West has won the media battle hands down. Western propaganda has crushed anything coming out of Russia. No question. Russia has won on the military and money fronts, while the West has won hands down on the media front. And so now, what is emerging from all that? What's the chessboard looking like? What we're beginning to see here is a clash between the 2 victories, as it were. Russia has won the military and money battle, and the media has won, hands down, the media battle. And now those 2 are about to clash. If the Western media fosters a common social imaginary in such a way that our globalist elites can't think otherwise, if that social imaginary is convincing our elites that we're winning and Putin is losing, he's bluffing, the referendums this weekend are a charade, it's all falling apart, we can take back everything, even Crimea itself. If we're not going to take Russia seriously, and we're going to continue to push forward to get back every square inch of Ukrainian land lost in accordance with this media narrative, not in accordance with the military and money reality, but in accordance with a media narrative. What do you think is the end result of that? If Russia's already decisively won the battle in the Donbass, if Russia's already decisively won the money battle, thank you, India and China, with its commodities and trade realignment, how do you think this potential clash between real military might and money versus imaginary media is going to play itself out? We really are on the brink. This is, I believe, the Cuban Missile Crisis all over again, playing out through the span of weeks. But now it's the West that's coming to the shores, as it were, of Russia. And what do you think Russia's going to do? It's not as if Putin hasn't warned us. And why is Russia doing this? Why? Because of their culture, because of their civilization, because of their unique and distinctive Russian way of life, because of their own Slavic sphere of which they have been at the center for over 1,000 years. In other words, that communicative technology that holds together the globalist world is about to clash with the cultural identity that holds together this new rising post-globalist world. Unfortunately, I think we're the Nikita Khrushchevs right now. And when it comes down to it, the question is whether the liberal globalist world is going to blink. By God's grace, I think they will. I think in the end they will. I mean, Jordan Peterson said it best. In the end, when you think about this rationally, there is absolutely nothing for the West to win here. Nothing for the West to win in terms of Ukraine proper. There's nothing. There's no good option for us. None. They will do their best to lick their wounds and hold on to as much of the liberal globalist world order as they can. They don't want to evaporate with the rest of us, I assume. I think they'll blink. But if that does happen, I think that blink will be, for all practical purposes, the end of the worldwide aspirations of the liberal globalist order. It's already done at a material level, right? We've talked about this many times on this channel. 80% of the world's population is recalibrating itself around a more Eurasian post-globalist world order. They're looking to China. They're looking to India. They are looking at the Eurasian world as the future. They're seeing the West as in a state of decline. And I think the blinking in the end will be, for all practical purposes, the formal end. The world will always be able to point back to that moment as when the Western liberal order failed in its efforts against Russia, and failure will then be its new moniker going forward. So we'll obviously see how things go from here. We'll take a very, very close eye approach to this. We'll see how things develop next week with these referendums. Let's pray that our Western globalist leaders have some semblance of sanity in their navigating a very new and very real post-globalist world order. All right, we got it, right, gang? Two, and we're still here. Good. All right, over to you. Let's see what you got. We got super chats up. Josh, our moderator's got some of your questions, so let me come on over here. Too bad. Yeah, we lost a lot of people. That's unfortunate. I'll have to come back and see this later on today. Remember, too, you could click on that link below, the returnoftheamericanpatriot.com, and you can purchase our brand new movie, The Rise of the American Patriot, The Return of the American Patriot, The Rise of Pennsylvania. It's so awesome. It's going to inspire you throughout the week, especially during these crazy and tumultuous times. It is a wonderful slice of life of the growing Patriot MAGA movement that is literally taking over the entire nation. Download it today, the return of the AmericanPatriot.com. All right, let's see what's going on here with you guys. Let's see, I have, let me go back to the original live stream because we've got a couple of questions from there. And I'll come on back down to see how you guys are going. Okay, let's see. Hi, Q. The fact that the career politicians, mama, don't like Trump, whether they are on the right or the left, is reason enough to vote for him. I'm afraid of the status quo gets back into power, dark times. Absolutely, and you got it. And thank you for the pound sterling. Thank you so very, very much. Is the key there is that there's a realignment going on. There's a massive realignment going on in cutting across the grain. So that now Democrats are switching over to Republican. We got the Liz Cheney type switching over to Democrat. Basically, she hasn't formally, but you know what I mean. And that realignment is happening because the new political animosity is between the people versus a political class. It's not ideological. It's not left versus right per se. It's not republicanism versus democratism, as it were. It is now identity based. It's what does it mean to be an American, or to be a Brit, or to be an Englishman, or to be an Italian, or a Swede, or a Russian? What does that mean? Remember, because globalism is a system rather than a civilization, it does tend to disembed local life away from that locality and replace it with transcultural, trans-systemic frame, commodity, consumerist-based culture. Media is what holds everything together. So the commercials that you see that tend to be so woke and pathetic, that's the new standard by which our social imaginary is being formed. So there's no question. It's a people who want to go back to culture, custom, and tradition, who want nothing to do with this increasingly what they consider odd and strange elite managerial class that's always presented in ideal, but increasingly, of course, woke forms by the media itself. So you're right. This is not left versus right. This is not Democrats versus Republicans or even Labor versus Tory. This is definitely people versus political class here. William Battle, you say Putin is restoring Christianity. I say he's bamboozled Russian Christians like Constantine did in the 3rd century. Well, of course you could think that way, William, but how many churches have you built? Putin himself is, I think, has overseen now construction of 20, 30,000 churches throughout Russia. He's been active in making sure the 1,000 monasteries that were emptied during the 70 years of the Soviet Union have been brought back. He has restored Russian Orthodoxy as the DNA of Russian life. Even atheists in Russia recognize that Russian Orthodoxy is Russia. To destroy the Russian Orthodox Church is to destroy Russia. Russian Orthodox Church, they recognize, is a mystical space for what it means to be authentically Russian. So you even have priests preaching. You can't be Russian without being Christian in that sense. Obviously, the atheists would take issue with, but that's how much Russian Christianity seeped into society over the last 20 years, and Putin's been at the helm of it. So, I'm sorry to tell you that. I mean, just we in the West tend to have a very privatized conception of Christianity. That might help to make the distinction here. We have been bamboozled, to use your word, into thinking that Christianity should be privatized or it should be decentralized. Well, why? Why? Where's that in the history of the church? Right? Why should it be decentralized? Why should it be defederalized? Again, it's fine if it is. I mean, if that's part, but why does it have to be? Right? So, we tend to think of Christianity as radically private. It's personal. It should not be brought into the public square. And we believe in this whole notion of separation between church and state, or even those of us who reject that, who want more of an accommodationist view, working of church and state together, nevertheless still see the church in very therapeutic and private terms. And they see Christianity in very internalized, subjective, introspectionist terms. You know, this personal, private relationship that I have with Jesus, which, by the way, amen to it. Well, personal, but it shouldn't be private. Personal relationship, but this whole idea that I'm in Christ's union with Christ, irrespective of an institutional, sacramental world and life order, is unique to very modernist and very secularized American Christianity. And Putin doesn't have a shred of that in his DNA. He is much more in line with and Constantine did in the 3rd century. The more I'm looking at this, the more this is irking me. Constantine didn't do anything in the 3rd century. You're talking about the 4th century, sir. 325 Nicene Creed. So, I mean, yeah. So I don't even know why I'm talking about it. If you think Constantine bamboozled things, then, you know, obviously we're just living on different confessional planets at that point. Salty Texas trucker. I can't say it. Salty Texas trucker. He won. I just hope Western leaders don't do something stupid and could expect their loss. This is Biden's biggest loss of biblical proportion. I agree. In the end, it's going to be the longest range one. The world is changing as a result of what's happening this weekend. It's been happening these last several months. And all of the rhetoric and all of the propaganda coming out of the White House hasn't changed it at all. Edwin Jones, thank you for your gift. And Harry Chillhanger, just blame it on Brandon. That's for. Did it just cut off again? Oh, no. I figured it. It got quiet. When did it get cut off? It's saying I'm cut off. Is it still going, guys? I hope it is. Oh, no, I'm getting different. Just got cut off now. Not sure what's going on. I'll have to call them. When did you... What's the time you gave me that? 1:22. All right. Are we up, guys? Let me see. Let me trust what's going on here. Okay, you see me, right? Good. I'm seeing the stream go. I just got a note from my moderator that we got cut off, but I can't see what time it was that he said it. All right, good. Thanks, guys, for giving it. All right. Let's see. So, okay, good. I think then that's going to be about it, because that's all the questions he was able to send me this way. Harry, Chillhanger, just blame it on Brandon. I think you're right on that. Yeah, this is amazing stuff that's going on, no question. And this is definitely, I mean, you know, the old saying is, may you live in interesting times, and boy, are we the recipients of that blessing. So, all right, guys, looks like it's going to be about it. We finally got through it. My, oh my, what a crazy, crazy day with all of these interruptions. All right, so with that, scary stuff, but also hopeful stuff. I do think in the end, the new, John Tarsa, get on Rumble. Yeah, we were going to set up a Rumble live stream today. But that actually was my fault on my end. I dropped the ball on that. So hopefully sometime in the next couple of weeks we'll have some Rumble live streams going on as well. But guys, yeah, it's great to be with you. Awesome chatting with you, and keep up the great work and all that. Valerie, just remember, God always wins. Amen, Valerie. Absolutely. Yeah, it's weird. I feel strange. I feel like I haven't gone through all your questions yet, but. There we go. Some of it. Hey, Wolalos, good to see you. How long do you think this war is going to take? Good question. A lot of commentators think that it's not going to last the winter because of most likely European resolve. It's not going to last the winter. You see what's going on in Sweden with the new Sweden Democrats, that coalition taking over. You're about to see a massive landslide among, whisper, relatively pro-Russian, because they're not pro-Russian per se. They're pro-new post-globalist order. Italian politicians, Giorgia Meloni and Matteo Salvini and the like. So you're going to see the Brothers of Italy come into power. You're going to see your first female prime minister of Italy, and she's the most nationalist populist leader in all of Europe, next to Viktor Orban. So it's pretty amazing stuff that's happening already. Once the winter comes and Russia shuts off the gas, a lot of people might say, all right, that's it. We're done. Let's finish this, and let's get some semblance of normalcy here. And let's sign a peace accord. Let's do some negotiations and finish this. Although, in fairness, as I understand it, Putin has said he's done negotiating with Zelensky. If Zelensky is the hero of the Western elite, he is the he's the scum of the Kremlin. Nobody wants anything to do with him. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But it may not last the winter. And as far as Russia's concerned, it looks like their goal from the very beginning was to make sure that they had secured that portion of Eastern Europe. It looks like it's frozen up again. Yeah, it looks like we're gonna have to finish this up, guys. Here we go. It's moving again. So it's like they're going to get their portion of Eastern Europe, their portion of Eastern Ukraine that they can. That they want. I think they're in total control of it, to be honest with you, the battlefield and the theater. They're going to get what they deem necessary for their civilization state and to move into a new age where they are the representative. They're the core state of the Slavosphere. They have the Slavosphere or the Orthosphere fully together. And so China will represent the Sinosphere. Of course, India, Indosphere, and the like. Turkey is going to be very interesting in terms of how it works out its interrelations with the Middle East and all the Stan countries, like Azerbaijan and all. And you're going to have a new map. You're going to just have a new world order map. That's basically 60% of the world's population right there. And so I think Russia will it's going to wait until it has what it wants and will move on. And it could care less what the liberal globalist world thinks. It's totally decoupled itself from it. So, all right, with that, gang, God bless. Love you guys. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll probably stream another one, or not stream. I'll probably do a couple of quick videos here or there today and tomorrow. Keep you up to date on some things. God bless, gang. We'll see you.